and Halton Price joins us on the show this morning. David, morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Good morning.
Give us your perspective on this. What do you think this means?
It's a measured and conditional welcome. Let's sort of cut the thing into its various component parts. Firstly, the BAE, the continued BAE presence. I mean, they've undertaken a 10-year lease with a right to another 10 years thereafter. That indicates a degree of commitment, which is important because they're going to be paying out cash rental every year for this site, so there'll be an incentive for them to use it. And of course, everything that BAE does, particularly with respect to Brough, depends on the sales of the Hawk and the sales of other aircraft. But if we get that we don't control. But if we get that, there's a strong indication that they themselves will maintain a presence, which is good. The second thing is Bridgehouse itself. Now, when we got the enterprise zone, obviously that depends on exploitation to get people in. It depends on getting companies to come in to make use of it. And up until now, the people who've been responsible for driving that have been BAE's property division. Now, I'm sure they're very nice and competent people, but they are not experts in enterprise zones. And it looks as though, from what I can tell, Bridgehouse is. Its initial comments indicate it wants to make the most of the enterprise zone, which means bringing in production, bringing in manufacturing, bringing in jobs, using the skill base that we've got in Humberside. So that's what it looks like. But the reason I say conditional welcome is because I and probably Alan Johnson will need to go and see them and find out what their exact plans are. But ab initio, from the beginning, it looks like a good bet. Finally, strategically, one of the problems we've had for the entire time I've represented Brough is we've had all our eggs in one basket. All our eggs in one basket in terms of the company, and to a very large extent, all our eggs in one basket in terms of the product, the Hawk. And so your fortunes as a worker in Brough, a skilled worker in Brough, are entirely in the hands of the sort of world market for defence products. And that sort of puts a lot of risk, and of course it's been risk which has been adverse for Brough for some time. What this will do, it will spread that risk. Hopefully there'll be a multiplicity of different employers there, and that means that any one of them going up or down won't completely decide the fate of the region or the fate of the community. So for three reasons, there are three good things to celebrate here, but they're conditional on us talking to Bridgehouse and seeing what they're really up to.
In simple terms, David, does it mean BAE have sold a site to Bridgehouse Capital and then rented it back?
Yeah, I mean, a large part of it's rented back, not by no means all of it, but the bit that represents their current production footprint, if you like, has been rented back. I mean, some of it we know it's not going to move. I mean, there's the stress testing centre. It's a big sort of state-of-the-art Europe, the best in Europe type thing, and that was never going to move, I don't think, anyway. It would cost a fortune and might be harmful. But other parts of it are still are also being leased. So some of it's been leased back, and that's what the 10-year commitment means. That's a commitment to current jobs there.
Do we know what this deal's worth financially? I've not seen a figure, so I just wonder.
No, I got a briefing note at the weekend on it just before they announced it, and there were no numbers in it in those terms. The only numbers were the sort of lengths of time, 10 years and 10 years. So I don't know, but I don't suppose BAE have lost by it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I'm quite sure they I mean, to be fair to BAE, from the beginning, whenever it was, September, a while ago, a year and a half ago, their initial position was really, really hard-nosed, and after the demonstrations, the AGM, attending the AGM, all those sorts of things, they softened their position, and they've actually put some money into helping retaining jobs and so on. But I don't suppose they've lost money out of this.
Do you feel all the jobs are safe now, given your conditions? I accept your conditions.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think every job is safe. I mean, they've just concluded a round of compulsory redundancies. They say the last ones in this option,
which was 14, wasn't it? I think.
14 out of 65. The total, I think from memory, I'm reaching a bit.
Yeah.
I think it was total of 65, but don't hold me to that.
Yeah.
But and that was a good sign. That's a big reduction from where we were, where we started a year and a half ago. But what I think is important here is not not just jobs within BAE, it's the jobs in other companies that come in there. You know, we've got a really, really good skill base. It's in a way, it's sort of old-fashioned skills. It's, you know, metal bending and that sort of stuff. But, you know, it's still important. You know, just because, you know, everything's in silicon chips these days doesn't mean that there isn't a need for building metal things and so on, and exercising those manual skills. And there's a good skill base in Brough and Hull and East Yorkshire. And if we get other people in to make use of that in novel and different ways, then that, by spreading the risk amongst many companies, will actually both improve the prospects and improve the risk profile of the area. And that's got to be good for people. I'm frankly, Bernsey, sick and tired of just about every third Christmas being involved with a process whereby people are told just before Christmas that their jobs are at risk. I mean, a number of times that's happened. Makes me want to cry. And that problem will go away if we diversify Brough.
Now, Bridgehouse are working in other areas of the country. I think they're working in Bristol. Have you had any feedback on their activities there? Because they seem to be the mystery in this.
No, they're not a very high-profile company. It's quite hard to find a lot about them, which is why the conversation that Alan and I have to have with them, Alan Johnson and I have to have with them, is very important. We need to get an insight into their plans. I mean, the truth of the matter is that a properly used enterprise zone, as you say, with various tax advantages and broadband advantages and so on, is a really, really good nucleus for development, not just on the enterprise zone, but around it too, because they create their own supply chains. But it does take skill to do it. And what we've got to establish two things is, one, their intent, and two, their skill level. Ab initio, it looks like the skill level is much higher than you would expect to find in the property department of BAE. That's a good thing. What we need to know as well is their intention.
Okay, the unions seem to have some concern about being kept in the dark here, David.
Yeah, they're right, I'm afraid. You know, I mean, my remarks I'm about to make are not focused on the local management. I think they've done well on this, truthfully. But I think the national management of BAE, yet again, have not consulted the trade unions properly. You know, now I'm a Tory. I'm not here as a sort of champion of the trade union movement, but I do think they have an important role to play. And you know, this is a company that 10 years ago had a fantastic reputation for the way it dealt with its workforce. We have a very good workforce in Brough, very stable, you know, not militant and all the rest of it. And the simple truth is that they have squandered that reputation in the way they've handled this whole process from beginning to end. I mean, there are some caveats to that, but they've handled the release of this information really badly. The National Union yesterday morning really had no more information than was in the press. They were going to be told last night, you know, after the release of the information. That's not the way to run a modern company. It really isn't, you know, and it's a pity. I mean, there's no objective harm from it, but it just offends people and it's unnecessary.
When do you feel you'll have more information? When are you and Alan hoping to talk to Bridgehouse?
A few weeks. I mean, it'll take time to organise. Right. I mean, I haven't had a chance to meet with Alan yet. We've both been rushing around Parliament the last day or two, but I should think within a few weeks, and then we'll come back to you, tell you about it.
Right, okay. I was just this morning, generally off this, we're talking about this, but generally I'm asking people for positive economic and jobs news. Have you got any for us, David, other than this?
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. The annual figures, if you think about my part of the world, our part of the world, what have we heard in the last few years? We've heard BAE at Brough, we've heard Comet, we've heard Space Hire going down, all these terrible bits of bad flagship bad news, headline bad news. You look at what happened in my constituency, indeed all the local constituencies in the last year, actually employment increased. And what's happening here is a lot of small companies are taking up the slack that the big companies are dropping. So in generic terms, actually employment's improving in Holton Price and Houghton. And ditto other parts of East Yorkshire, but we don't see it because it's not a headline. You know, one company, you know, one 5-person company taking on a 6-person, one 20-person company taking on a couple of extra people. That doesn't make big news, but in aggregate, what it's showing is that the place is improving, and that's good news for the entire population.
David, as always, thank you very much for your time this morning. There you go, David Davis, the MP for Howden and Holton Price. I am asking you.